Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Rock Bottom Airsoft. It's good to see you again. If it's your first time here, as always, it is good to see you and I hope you're going to stick around. Okay, well, welcome to our midweek video. As you would normally see in a midweek video for myself, it will be a gameplay video. As I mentioned a few times before, unfortunately I'm still injured, so I've not been able to get out to my regular game of Airsoft, unfortunately. So at the moment, rather than just doing a studio video at the weekend and a gameplay video midweek, we're doing 2 studio videos a week. So if you have been enjoying my series of videos, then do please subscribe to the channel, and then you won't miss out any videos that are coming up, and you won't miss out when I get back to the gameplay footage, which hopefully should be healing up soon, and I'll be able to get back out on the field, get some gameplay footage and some reviews of some of the products we've looked at here in the field and show you how they perform in game. Okay, well, with that out of the way, what are we going to have a look at today? Well, if you saw my previous video, you'll know that I mentioned that due to peer pressure and a few comments that I've had, I decided to get a chrono for the channel so that when we do review new replicas or discuss replicas or even do any upgrades and discuss the advantages of upgrades, we'll be able to chrono those replicas here on the channel, and then if it's an upgrade you'll be able to see whether there's been any noticeable improvement, and if it's a review of a replica then it will show you, what I'm getting out of the particular replica that I've bought. Now, what I would say with chronos, I always take it with a pinch of salt when I get a replica to review when I purchase one myself, because although mine may chrono at one amount and then you go out and buy one yourself, it might not chrono at the same amount, which is why I prefer to test in the field. So I'm still going to be testing in the field. I'll still show any replicas that I review on here in game. That way, as a regular player, I'm able to do that, so you'll be able to see that they do survive the rigors of gameplay out in the field. And I play woodland, so obviously you'll see them in all weathers as well. So the chrono that I purchased, that I've got for the channel here, is the Xcortech. I'm assuming I'm pronouncing that right. Somebody could correct me if I'm wrong. X3200, and it's the Mark III according to the box here. Now, I have a confession to make. I've opened the box so that I could do a photograph. You may have seen that on Instagram or Facebook. Rock Bottom Airsoft is on Facebook or Instagram, so you can check us out on there as well. But I did put a picture of it on there to say that, we've got a chrono for the channel. But I haven't done anything with it. I've not put any batteries in it. I haven't powered it up. I don't even know whether it works. So it was only out of the box for photo. So this is an unboxing. This is my first experience with it, so I thought we could go through it together and do a quick rundown, a quick review of the Xcortech Mark III. So this is the chrono I've bought. If you're interested in getting hold of one of these chronos for yourself, you're going to be looking at around about 55 to 65 British pounds dependent on where you get it from. This particular one I believe came from Bullseye. Country Sport, it's a good website, good supplier. I get a lot of stuff from them, and I think this one was 62 British pounds, but I have seen them in other places for 55 British pounds. So what I'll do is I'll put a link in the description to where you can get one of these at the cheapest price that I can find, the most affordable. So that'll be in the description. With regard to the packaging, yeah, it's just a plain cardboard box. There's a picture of the front of the chrono on the front there, picture of the top of the chrono on the top of the box, which makes sense, I suppose. There's a QR code there to download the manual. Just says what it is there on the back. Nothing on that side and nothing underneath. So what's inside? Well, not a lot, as I discovered when I did the photograph. There's just a plain cardboard box, nothing in it. We'll get rid of the box for now. Get a plastic bag with the chrono in it. And there she is. Depends whether you're into these kind of things, but nothing too exciting. It's just a box with a hole in it and an LCD screen for the chrono. However, it's a box of magic tricks. It looks well made, looks well put together. There's not really any weight to it. We will see if it performs in a second. So there are some features that I'll go through on this chrono if you are thinking of getting one, or if you are thinking of getting a chrono at all. From what I've read online, people have had good experiences with the Xcortech brand, which is one of the reasons I went for this particular one. It's quite affordable compared to some other chronos. If you can get hold of one at 55 British pounds, then you know that's not a bad buy at all. That's quite a good price for a chrono these days. This chrono does come with a lot of features. The features that are included with this one is that it can be externally powered by this USB connection at the back. It's micro USB. That means you can power it from any micro USB power supply, such as your phone charger, that type of thing, or even an external battery pack. So that's quite handy if you're going to be using it for long periods of time. It's tripod mountable, as you might have noticed. There's a tripod mount on the bottom. That's probably how I'm going to use it, mounted on a tripod. You can mount it on a small tabletop tripod or on a full-size tripod, whatever you prefer. So it is tripod mountable, that's always good. And it's just a standard screw fitting as you would have on a DSLR or any other camera equipment. It can be powered by AA batteries to keep it portable. There's a battery compartment here, so you can get that open. Yeah, so it takes 2 AA's in there, so it can also be powered from that as well as externally. It measures quite a different amount of items depending on what you're trying to get out of your rifle. It will measure rate of fire. So if you're looking at increasing your replica's rate of fire, you'll be able to measure discernible differences on this chrono. It'll give you a rate of fire reading. It can give you a power reading in joules, which is handy because a lot of sites now, if they're not already, will be moving over to joules because it's a more accurate measure for whether you're shooting within sight limits. Based on BB weights, it's irrelevant. If you've got a joules reading, then that's the joules you're shooting at. As well as that, it can use different weight BBs, so you can program it for different weights. So you can use any weight BB you want a chrono. And it will give you an FPS reading, or feet per second, if you're still chronoing in feet per second, which I think a lot of us do. I mean, I'm guilty of it as well. I don't always use joules. I tend to work off feet per second when I'm doing upgrades and things. And then obviously you can also change that to meters per second if your particular site or region that you live in works on meters per second rather than feet per second. So you have the option for both. It's got a 25 shot memory. So if you're, say you've been doing some work on a sniper, for example, and consistency, as we've mentioned in many videos, is key. If you want to see if you're doing consistent shots, it'll do a 25 shot memory. That could even apply on full auto in an AEG, or indeed if you're trying to set up a DMR. So it's handy having a shot memory because you can see that consistency over a number of shots and average out, and then you know what you're getting. And you can also get an average of your feet per second or your joules. So you've got a good idea what your rifle or replica is putting out regularly. It's also got free BB weight memory. So if you tend to use 0.25s maybe in your AEGs, and then maybe 0.4s in a sniper, for example, and maybe even 0.3s in a particular pistol replica, you could store all those in memory, and then you can quickly change between them when you're chronoing your different replicas. So that's always handy. It comes with auto power off, so you're not going to drain your batteries down. I believe you can set it to the time it'll stay on for before it powers off, so just in case you forget to turn it off, it's not going to drain its batteries down and be flat next time you come to use it. It's got a backlight for the LCD screen, so if you're working in low light conditions or even a night game, you'll be able to see the screen with the backlight even then. And then from its specs that I've read for what it's capable of reading, it can read the velocity of a BB from between 30 meters per second all the way up to 400 meters per second. Now I did some slight calculations on that, and that's roughly 98 feet per second up to 1,312 feet per second, which is quite a range. If you're shooting less than 98 feet per second, then that's going to be struggle to skirmish with that replica on a 0.2. And if you're shooting over 1,312 feet per second, then you were out of the realms of airsoft. And I'm afraid I don't fancy taking a hit from a replica that's firing over 1,000 feet per second. I'd imagine that'd pinch a bit. So the range there is more than enough for the velocities that we're dealing with here with 6mm BBs in airsoft. The rate of fire, it can measure between 100 and 5,000 rounds per minute. So that's rounds per minute. So we should be okay on that. It might struggle perhaps maybe on some really high speed builds because this is airsoft. We can get some insane rate of fires going on. But you know, the specs there are enough really for what we're looking out of a chrono, especially in the case here on the channel. I'm mainly going to be looking at the feet per second because I think that's what a lot of you guys are interested in. You might be interested in the rate of fire as well. A standard replica should be well within those ranges for the rate of fire measurements, but we'll find out obviously. If you want to know more, if you want joules readings rather than feet per second, then let me know in the comments. As I always mention, I will always respond to a comment. So I think what we'll do now is we'll power it on, have a see what it looks like. I'll grab some batteries and pop them in this thing and see if it turns on. If it doesn't turn on, then it's definitely not going to be a recommendation. And then we shall fire a replica through it and see how it does for reading what we're looking for our feet per second and all that kind of thing. The replica that we'll use to test this is an AEG. It's this one. You guys might have seen this on the channel before. This is one of my, well, I would call it a Frankenstein build. I built this out of spare parts I had lying around. Started out life as a Strike Systems affordable budget line AEG, and now it's running 12:1 gears and high torque motor, MOSFET, all sorts of other good stuff. They've changed out the buffer, the rail, it's all been changed, it's all bits I had lying around. So we'll use this one for testing it. There's no sight on it or anything because we're just going to be testing it. But I know from sight this usually chronos around about the 300 feet per second mark. So we shall find out what it chronos on this chrono. I've just put a new hop unit in this one to test it. It's a ProWin rotary hop unit. So let's hope we don't have any feed issues, but we'll use this to test the chrono once I've stuck some batteries in. So give me a second here to put some batteries in and I shall come back to you. Right guys, well here we are again. I've got the Xcortech Mark III X3200 set up on a tripod now so we can try it out. I'm sorry if the camera moves and shakes around a bit. It's just because I'm moving around a bit as I try to manipulate it and use the replica to shoot. If there's a bit of background noise when we start shooting, I'm afraid it's quite a windy day here today. Got a little bit of noise from the river at the bottom. My backstop here is a river. Obviously I've got my iPro on, and we're going to do everything nice and safe. There's nothing in the distance that I'm shooting at apart from the river. So we'll try this out and see how it shoots and see if it works. But first of all, let's see if it turns on. I've got a battery in there. Well, that's a good start. So we're turning on. So at the moment we seem to be set on meters per second and rounds per minute. So if we press the down button, that gives us screen 2, which is set on 6mm BBs, and it's also set, with the looks of it, on 0.2 gram BBs. Now obviously we're not going to want to do 0.2 grams, so let's move it down to ammo, press the enter button. We've got 2.25 there, which is what I will be using. So we've moved it up to 2.5. And then we shall hit enter on exit, so that should now be 2.5. We'll move it to the unit because I work in feet per second, so we'll go up to speed, hit enter, that's changed it to feet per second, and the rate of fire will change to rounds per second, which is more in tune with what I usually do on my reviews. And I don't need to do it with the backlight, the contrast, or reset. So I'm assuming we go up, that's it. We go up, we're back to screen 2. So that gives us a round per second, feet per second. We've got the joules on there, and we've got 6mm BB set at 0.25. I hope you can make that out on camera. I have a mid-cap magazine here, which is fully loaded with 0.25 gram BBs. I'm using the Titan lithium-ion battery in the replica that I showed you earlier. So let's take a few shots and see what happens there. I can see that the backlight's gone out, but I'm imagining that that will come back on when we start shooting. We can only hope, otherwise we'll have to change that in settings as well. Okay, so let's take a few shots and see what happens. That's mag in. Try not to shoot the chrono before I've even used it. We'll go with semi. Okay guys, sorry about that. We're going to have a change of plan. That rifle did not appear to want to feed, which is a common problem. When you're trying out new hop units, it may need a bit of shimming and a bit of tweaking to get it shooting reliably. So we are going to change over. We're now using my Vulcan alloy series. All that's been done to this is a bit of shimming work to get it sounding alright. So we'll try out still with 0.25 gram BBs and also with the Titan lithium-ion battery. So let's do a shot through and see how that works. Yep, that's reading. So we appear to be getting 280 feet per second on a 2.5, which works out as 0.9 of a joule. Obviously the rounds per second, not really an issue on this one because we're only doing 1 round per second, but let's see what it'll do on full auto. So 12.4 rounds per second on a 7.4 volt battery. 12.5. Let's do some more semi. 270 feet per second. 262. Didn't read. 284. 269. 285. 289. 274. 279. Well, this rifle doesn't appear to be the most consistent, but it might be me getting used to this chrono. It seems to be more consistent now. So there we go. I think what we've proved there is that it does work. That's on screen too, so we're getting about a joule on those last few readings on 2.5s. Or we can go to the simple view there, which just gives us feet per second and rounds per second. We can try it with that view as well. So provided I've got ammo left. Oh, I didn't read. It's hard to get this particular replica in line just due to the fact that it's got a large muzzle brake on it, or a sound hog as it were. We seem to be getting better readings now. Let's try for full auto again. I think that might be us running out of rounds now. Maybe not. So I think you have to get absolutely dead straight, as you can see, to get a reading. I think we get a reading there. But it works. So that's always a bonus if it works. So let's head back to the studio now and give my final thoughts on it, and we'll go from there. Okay. Well guys, a couple of teething problems there when we were trying it out. Yeah, the chrono works fine. I think what we had some issues with there is you do have to get dead on straight when you're shooting through the chrono, otherwise it won't read. But as you could see, it tells you if it's not reading, so at least you know you haven't had a read, it's just come up with 0. But if you get the replica straight on, it does give you good results. What I would say is I'm surprised about the inconsistency that was showing on the replica that we trialled. I remember I said I was going to use my Frankenstein build, but the error of my ways, I shouldn't have used an untested replica to test this. So instead we used the Vulcan Alloy series, which I've used in game loads of times. This replica is completely standard, apart from I opened it up, re-greased and re-shimmed it, and that's it. There's nothing else been done to it. There's no MOSFET on it or anything, no compression work. So you know that there may be a bit of inconsistency in this replica for sure, but I think it was more to do with the way that I was angling the replica when I was shooting, and I don't think that'd be so much of a problem for you if you weren't trying to film at the same time. And obviously, again, as you all know, I'm quite new to this kind of thing, so filming from the Chrono, that was just a first attempt and we'll improve as we go. But it works, and it reads out your rounds per second. I apologise about the other replica, but I have just put that new hop unit in, and I've got to do some fiddling about with that to get a good reliable feed on it, but it wasn't feeding well. So overall, for the money I've paid for this, I would say that it is decent. Time will tell how long it lasts. You'll see this in use on the channel from now on. Whenever I review a replica, I will run it through the Chrono for you. One thing that I did note that were in the instructions, which I did forget to mention, that you don't get any instructions in the box. What you saw in the box is exactly how it comes, no instructions. But as I mentioned, there is a QR code on there for the instructions. I'll also put a link in the description to where you can download a PDF version of the instructions. There's not much to them, but it does mention that if you're using gas-based replicas, CO2 or green gas, then because of the puff of gas that can come out of the replica, it recommends to keep your distance away from the sensor so as not to get any gas in the sensor. Doesn't mention about it damaging the sensor and equipment inside, but it does say that it can give you a wrong read because the gas will interfere with the reading that you get. The plastic wise, I don't think I'd like to hit it with a BB. I think you could shoot this screen out very easily. You could probably shoot out, you know, the plastic. It could probably crack, I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to put it to the test with this one because I don't know what I've got. But overall, seems well put together. As long as you're careful and you're only shooting through the place you're supposed to shoot through, it's going to give you readings. The backlight's effective. It's held its memory, which I can go into. So yeah, the backlight works well. Generally, it just seems like a really nice piece of kit for between 55 and 65 British pounds. But if you can get it for 55 pounds, I'll put a link in the description, like I mentioned earlier, as to the cheapest price I can find this anywhere. If you do fancy a Chrono. And you know, I probably agree with a lot of you guys who've mentioned Chrono. They are an invaluable tool, especially for upgrades. Seeing if you've had any noticeable gains. I normally do the Chrono in on site when I've done any upgrades, but from now on in, I'll do the Chrono in on the channel so you can see firsthand what's happened. And obviously I won't shy away if something doesn't work well. That Pro Win hop up I've put in there, I've had a lot of success with Pro Wins. That one doesn't seem to be feeding, but I've only just put it in, so it might need a bit of fiddling about with spring tension on the hop unit itself, just to get it a good feed on there. So I'll get back to you on that one. But that is the Xcortech Mark III X3200. We've given it a try. We know it works. It's very affordable as Chronos go, and got a lot of features. So I hope you enjoyed that video. I hope you found it interesting. If you did enjoy it, then please do drop a like on it. And as I always say, if you're enjoying my series of videos, if you like these kind of reviews and the stuff that's coming out on the channel, then do subscribe, and that way you won't miss anything that comes up in the future. Okay, well thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.